Alright, this morning we're going to change the oil in my Santa Fe. It's a real simple process. First thing that I do before I change the oil is I loosen the oil cap just so that there'll be some airflow as we drain it. The tools that I'll be using is a 17 millimeter wrench, a oil filter wrench if needed. If the previous person or if you had put your oil filter on too tight the last time that you done it, this comes in handy. Definitely need an oil pan to catch the oil, a funnel to put oil back in, oil, proper size oil filter, and I'll show you what I use brake cleaner for in a little bit. And of course, the cheater bar helps if you need it for the bolt on the oil pan. So anyway, first of all, you get your oil pan, put it underneath your oil pan. Now I've already loosened the bolt just a little bit. I don't know if I've got it finger loose yet. No, I don't. I've done that so that I would not actually bust my knuckles on the concrete while recording, which I actually ended up busting my knuckle on the concrete. So, for this, when you, on your Santa Fe, your 17 millimeter bolt is right here. There's your passenger side tire. When you loosen it, you will be loosening or turning your wrench from towards your driver's side to your passenger side tire. And that way, if you get confused, you can figure out which way am I supposed to turn this, so you won't be over tightening it. So anyway, get your pan under there, get your bolt. Now, if you've just been running around town, you might want to let your engine cool down for a little bit, or either wear gloves. I don't mind getting dirty. So anyway, got that, and of course I'm going to pause the camera while I clean my hand up. Alright, just real quick, I want to show how the cheater bar can be useful. Whenever you put your wrench on your bolts, and if you're trying to turn it and you just can't get enough force on it to turn it, what you can do is take your bar and then slide it over your wrench, and that way you can hold down at this end of your cheater bar and give you more leverage, which will give you more force to be able to turn that bolt. Anyway, got my hand cleaned up from all the oil, so which is not perfectly clean, but that's okay. So now the oil's pretty much drained out. Got some drips coming down. So now you want to get your oil filter, and right here, if you've got it on too tight, that's where your oil filter wrench will come in handy. But I have kind of somewhat loosened this up. Whenever I put it on, I don't put too much force on it. I don't know if there's like a certain torque that you should put it on with, but I use both of my hands when I reapply the oil filter so that I can get a good enough grip on it and put enough force on it that I know that it's sufficient to do the job. Now, of course, I don't know, some of you may have already noticed, I do have an oil leak somewhere, but it is probably from the head gaskets. Probably going to be a very expensive thing to fix. I would imagine if I was to take it to a shop, it would probably cost, I don't know, I'm just taking a rough guess, maybe $500 to $1,000 because all the stuff that had to be taken off. Not entirely sure, but I'm not too worried about it. It has caused me one problem with my starter, which is right here. And so I figured, hey, if I just got to replace my starter once every year, it's cheaper than making a $300 a month payment on the vehicle. So I'm not too worried about it. But of course I don't plan on keeping this forever either. So, alright, so anyway, got the oil filter off. I'm gonna get a paper towel and kind of clean that up a little bit. Normally have shop towels, but for some reason I ran out. I forgot to get some more. So anyway, get that a little bit cleaned up of all the old oil. Don't let the wind tear the towel off. Get my new oil filter, Fram Tough Guard. I normally get the high mileage, but the only 2 high mileage ones that they had at the store, the boxes were ripped open. And so of course I'm skeptical about that. I even took the oil filter out of them and looked at them. They looked okay, but I'm sorry, when there's a ripped up box, I'm just not buying it. Anyway, so use this one. Put a little bit of oil, just enough around the gasket right here to lubricate it, and put it back on. Put the new one on. So I'm going to set the camera down. If you can't see what I'm doing, I apologize, but I'm going to use both my hands to put a sufficient tightness on here. And I think that'll do it. I could probably go a little bit more, but then again, I don't want to over tighten. So, got that done. And again, I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but anyway, it's on there now. Get my paper towel that I just had. This will work. I need to clean the bolt from the oil pan. Clean that up a little bit. Don't have to be perfect. You definitely do not want to put your oil into the engine without having your bolt back in the oil pan. Get that kind of cleaned up a little bit. Still probably going to drip a little bit. Find the spot and put it in. Clean it up a little bit more. Now when you're putting the bolt back on, of course you don't want to over tighten it, but you do want to make sure that it's on there tight enough so that, I don't know, it won't rattle out or something like that. You definitely do not want to lose your oil while you're driving down the interstate or something. That'd be awful. Tear your car up. And you don't want to put it on too tight either, because you'll end up busting your knuckles the next time you do it. And if you don't want to do all this and you take it to a shop, I would highly advise you to check your oil after you take it to the shop. Take it to the shop. Let's say they put 6 quarts of oil in it, or 4.5, or sorry about all the wind. You may not be able to hear me. But however much oil is supposed to be in your vehicle, make sure they done it. Don't just take their word for it. After they pull it out of the shop for you, park it out in the parking lot and give you the keys and the tech walks off, don't just get in it and drive off. Keep you some paper towel or some cloth or something in there. And then when they leave, or not, I mean not leave, but when you have access back to your vehicle, check your oil. Don't drive off. One time I had a Jeep Wrangler. Took it to a shop. The only reason why I took it to a shop was because the bolt on the oil pan was on there so hard that I ended up stripping it, trying to get it off. Well, so I took it to the shop so they could get it off for me. Went ahead and had them change the oil for me and just save the stuff that I had purchased for the next time. And a couple months later, I went to change my oil, and I only got a half quart of oil out, and I did not leak any oil. It was a fairly new Jeep Wrangler, and so for about 3 months I've been running on about a half quart of oil. So The only time I'm taking it to something to a shop is if I have to. So anyway, all right. So I've actually got two different kinds of oil here. It's not a horrible thing, but as you can see, I got about 2.5 quarts in this jug. This is one thing that happens when you have a vehicle that takes 5.5 quarts of oil, and this is for the Santa Fe. It is 10W30. Takes 4.5 quarts of oil. So when you buy 5 quarts at a time, you end up with a half a quart left over every time. So, which actually I'm not going to put the full 4.5 quarts in here, because I do have that oil leak, and the last time that I changed my oil, my starter ended up having a problem. So and it was because oil had gotten on it. So anyway, that's 2.5 quarts right there. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go ahead and empty this so that I can see how much oil I got out, and however much oil I got out, I'm just going to put a little bit more than that in. I'm not saying that's good for your engine. Don't take my word or my advice on it. I'm just doing that because I know I've got an oil leak, and if I put extra oil in it, it's just going to leak out anyway. So that's just what I'm doing. And here's why I have the brake cleaner. So that I can get all of this down inside. And of course, I've only got one hand to do this, so it's a little bit cumbersome. Get that pretty well cleaned up. Not trying to make it perfect, but at least I don't have all that oil sitting there. Alright, so that's that. So now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to set the camera down, and I'm going to try to sit back so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Hopefully. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to empty the oil pan. Alright, so I've got that emptied, and I don't know if you can see very well, but I've got almost 3 quarts of oil. Shows you how much oil I've lost since the last time. So what I'm going to do is, from here, I'm just going to clean out my oil, my filter. I'm sorry, not filter, the funnel. I'm going to clean out my funnel, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more oil into here. So that's the, and of course, once I get done, I'm going to put the oil cap back on. So anyway, that's the basic of it. Again, 17mm wrench, oil filter wrench if you need it, cheater pipe if you need it, oil, 4.5 quarts, of 10W30 for your Santa Fe, and then your filter. For your filter, it's the, most of them are the 9688. You get the TG 9688 or the HM 9688, and I think there's one more, maybe the higher quality one. The HM, which is the high miles, it is the mid-grade for your price range. This one is the lower grade. But anyway, that's it. Real simple, real quick. Whole thing I think cost me $28. So it's not only is it cheaper than taking it to a shop to get them to do it, but when you're done, you know that you have got oil in your vehicle. So anyway, that's changing the oil in the Santa Fe. Thanks for watching.